Yo, it's your brother, Yafeuh Balogun, back at you one more time, back at you one more time for a real one tonight. I want you to take a seat, sit down, and just think for a minute. Just think for a minute. C.B.G is about to say some things that some of us ain't never heard before. C.B.G is about to say some things that, in some senses, in some places, may be controversial. Okay? CBG is about to give it to us real raw. And some of us not gonna like what CBG has to say. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Some of us not gonna like what CBG has to say. Now I do wanna give a disclaimer. The information that CBG says, I may or may not agree with. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But I want to give CBG a chance to give his perspective on the black experience, give his perspective on the African experience, and he may say some things that we kind of segue with and have some agreement. Uh, just from the outset, this is not a debate. So me and CBG is not going to debate, but I do want to give him a chance to speak, share his thoughts on what the history of the slave trade is and how it started, who affected it, who was a part of it, and all that type stuff. So so let's get ready for it. Let's get ready for it. We honored to have CBG. He gonna say some real controversial stuff now. So here it is again. I may or may not agree with it. I don't know what he gonna say, but he gonna say some stuff. So hey CBG, how you doing today, sir?
How you doing, brother? I think I got something in my throat. I'm drinking my Gatorade over here trying to get it better.
Here we
Get
go. Here we go, y'all.
yeah, brother Yafeo, he talking to y'all like I'm gonna say something real crazy. But all I'm gonna do is just
Hey,
go over some historical facts with y'all. I
okay.
may or may not even give y'all my opinion on it. I might probably, how I
No,
do,
go.
man.
No, 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 no. Let me tell you right now, CBG. CBG, go full throttle. Don't hold no punches. You know what I mean? Don't hold no punches. Go full throttle. Hey, I'm not gonna interject. Nobody gonna interject. Now, if we get somebody, let me just say this: through this interview process or through your presentation later on, if we get somebody they may want to refute what you said. I do want to give them an opportunity to be able to refute your information. However, during this presentation that you gonna give or conversation that you gonna have, we're not gonna refute anything. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna learn, and we're gonna take in information that you say, and it's gonna challenge some folks' mind, and some folks is gonna be straight with it. Some folks be like, yeah, I agree with CBG gotta say. Some folks like, yeah, he's absolutely correct. Then there's gonna be some other folks like, I don't know. I got to question that. So I just want to state that for anybody that may be listening, may see this in the future. Uh, that's how we're gonna do it.
All right, brother Yafeo. Well, let me go ahead and try to present right here. This is my first time ever doing this, so let me know if y'all can see my screen. One second. Let me see how we go about. We're gonna say entire screen. That's how we share entire screen, right? Also share system audio. Yeah, we're gonna share audio. I don't know, it's not letting me share. Wonders. Let's do tab then. No, it won't let me do tabs either. Choose what you would like to share on stream or my entire screen. It's grayed out. It's a share button gray.
Do me this favor. Send to me on Facebook what you trying to show.
Well, I got a whole bunch of tabs open.
Okay. Just let's just start with one. Let's just start with one, and then I'll try to show what you're trying to show the best of my ability, and
But
then we'll go ahead.
okay, so let me send you some on Facebook then.
Okay. Send it through the Facebook, y'all.
All right. Let's start off with that there right there. Let's see. Okay, I send it to you. Hold on,
I
I can
got it
share it.
here.
I can
Let me.
share it. I know how to do it now.
Oh, do you? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me do it. We're gonna start off on which one? Yeah, there you go right there. No, that ain't it. Yeah, we're gonna start off right here. Can you see my screen?
Let me let it on here. Let me let it on here. There it is, right there. Boom. There you go.
Okay, so you, cause I can't see y'all, but y'all can see me. Can you see me? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, they can see your screen. Go ahead. I blew it up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this right here is a newspaper article from the Guardian back in 2009, and I read this way back then. And it says traditional African rulers whose ancestors collaborated with European and Arab slave traders should follow Britain and the United States by publicly saying sorry, according to the Human Rights Organization. The Civil Rights Congress of Nigeria has written to tribal chiefs saying, "We cannot continue to blame the white men as Africans, particularly the traditional rulers, are not blameless." The appeal has reopened a sensitive debate over the part some chiefs played in helping to capture their fellow Africans and sell them into bondage as part of the transatlantic slave trade. So I read this, and this is a great thing that Nigerians are coming together to offer their apologies to the Africans in the West. Um, my issue is they're saying particularly the rulers. Now, if when I see things like this, I hear folks say all the time that it was just, sometimes you had some uh, quote unquote elitists who enslaved black people, to help the Europeans along the way and make money. But I beg to differ. I think this was more of a grassroots effort. So I'm gonna go into detail and I'm gonna show you why I believe such. Let me see how to get back to my StreamYard, and we gonna go. Let me stop my sharing and let me pull up. We'll start on. Let's start. Should we start? We'll start here. Go to my StreamYard and we're gonna present, share screen. Now we ain't gonna go there. Let's go. Let's start out. Let me see. I gotta make sure my stuff is together. Okay, we'll go there. Okay, we got you. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see, brother Yafeuh? Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay.
So just so you know, each time you do a screen share, I have to give it permission to be shown. So when you do it, I'll give it permission, like I did this particular one and the previous one, and
Just
then you
talk
just
to me because I can't see nothing. When I share my screen, it takes me to that screen. I can't even see StreamYard right now.
okay, good, okay, cool. I'll let you know. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the actual letter sent from Zinga Member. Zinga Member was the Mwini Congo at the time, which means the king of the Congo. This letter was from the king of the Congo to the Portuguese king in the year 1526. The letter reads, "Sir, your highness should know how our kingdom is being lost in so many ways that it is convenient to provide for the necessary remedy. Since this is caused by the excessive freedom given by your agents and officials to the men and merchants who are allowed to come to this kingdom to set up shops with goods and many things, which have been prohibited by us, and which they spread through our kingdoms and domains in such an abundance that many of our vassals, whom had in obedience, do not comply because they have the things in greater abundance than we have ourselves, or that we ourselves. And it was with these things that we had them content and subjected under our vassalage and jurisdiction. So it is doing a great harm not only to the service of God, but to security and peace of our kingdom and state as well. For those who don't know, the Congo was the first Christianized kingdom in sub-Saharan Africa. It happened in the 1500s when the first Portuguese emissaries arrived in Congo, and they started trading. And they were some of the kings of the Congo sent their sons to Portugal to learn the Portuguese language in order to become brother nations with one another. They met each other as equals. This says, and we cannot reckon how great the damage is, since the mentioned merchants are taking every day our natives, sons of our land, and the sons of our noblemen, and vassals, and our relatives, because the thieves and men of bad conscience grab them, wishing to have the things and the wares of this kingdom which they are ambitious of. They grab them and get them to be sold. And so great, sir, is the corruption and licentiousness that our country is being completely depopulated. And your highness should not agree with this nor accept it as in your service. And to avoid it, we need from those kingdoms no more than some priests and a few people to reach in schools, and no other goods except wine and flour for the holy sacrament. That is why we beg of your highness to help and assist in this matter, commanding your factors that they should nor send here either merchants or wares. Don't send any clothes or any salesmen, because it is our will that in these kingdoms there should not be any trade of slaves nor outlet for them, concerning what is referred to above. Again, we beg of your highness to agree with it, since otherwise we cannot remedy such an obvious damage. Pray our Lord in his mercy to have your highness under his guard, and let you do forever the things of his service. I kiss your hands many times. Many of our people, keenly desirous as they are of the wares and things of your kingdoms, which are brought here by your people, and in order to satisfy their voracious appetite, seize many of our people, freed and exempt men, and very often it happens that they kidnap even noblemen and the sons of noblemen and our relatives, and take them to be sold to the white men who are in our kingdoms. And for this purpose they have concealed them, and others are brought during the night, so that they may not be recognized. So, right here, I read it again. It went down. I don't know what happened. How would go back? Let's see. Many of our people, keenly desirous as they are of the wares and things of your kingdom. So the Mwini Congo was saying many people in the Congo desire the clothes and the things that are in the Portuguese kingdom, which are brought here by the Portuguese. And in order to satisfy their voracious appetite, they seize many people, freed and exempt men. They don't care if you're a slave already or if you're freed. They don't matter. They want to sell you so they can get some clothes. That's what this is saying. That's what the king of Congo was saying to the Portuguese king. This is his writing. I didn't write it. Nobody else wrote it. He's saying, and very often it happens that they kidnap even noblemen. They kidnapping the noblemen of the kingdom, the royalty, and the sons of noblemen, the kids of royalty, and our relatives, and take them to be sold to white men who are in our kingdoms. And for this purpose they have concealed them, and others are brought during the night so that they may not be recognized. So they snatching people up and selling them to the white men in order to get clothes. That's what the king of Congo was actually saying. This isn't a this isn't just uh, a thing that some elitists are doing. This is a grassroots effort. Looks a lot like the modern day drug trade. You know, I was talking to a brother earlier, and we was talking about the drug trade. Crack has been out for 40 years, and folks is still selling crack to their own community, knowing what crack do to their community. They don't care. They want the money. This is the same thing that was going on back then. You know, in the 70s, we had a pimp culture where folks wanted to be pimps. We even have black exploitation movies, Dolomite and all them type of films, venerating being a pimp, selling off our women to the highest bidder. So this isn't a new thing for black folks. And this isn't something that just belonged to the elite. This is a grassroots effort that everybody was a part of. But this is in the kingdom of Congo. We're going to move along to another kingdom. One second. Let me stop sharing. Let me go back to my stream yard. Okay.
Go
This
ahead.
is a this is an excerpt on the kingdom of Dahomey, which is present day Benin. As you can see right here, in 1851 and 1852, the British imposed a naval blockade on the ports of Dahomey in order to force them to end the slave trade. In January of 1852, Gizo accepted a treaty with the British ending the export of slaves from Dahomey. So it took the British to combat. They were involved in the slave trade. However, the British were the first nation to abolish the slave trade. And then they went on the police campaign, like the West do. They try to police the world. They wanted to stop the slave trade around the world. And they started with Dahomey because Dahomey was a they were huge in the slave trade. That's how they built the wealth of their nation. So they went and they put a blockade, a naval blockade around Dahomey to forcibly stop them from selling slaves. It's right here. And as we can see from our last excerpt, that it's not just an elitist thing; it's a grassroots effort. This is what was going on. It's like selling dope. So back then they was selling people. I'll go to the next thing. So we're gonna go here with it. Let me know when we're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, these are the Dahomey Amazons. This was the king of Abumi. This is his wives. They were all female cavalry regiment. They captured many slaves and sold them. They captured many slaves for the king. It was a movie that came out here recently, I believe last year, called The Woman King, and it was talking about the Dahomey Amazons. That woman was a Dahomey Amazon, but in the movie they didn't tell the real story. They made her look like a hero, and in actuality, the Amazons single-handedly captured more slaves than any other group for Dahomey. If we read this, it says the emergence of an all-female military regiment was a result of Dahomey's male populations facing high casualties in the increasingly frequent violence and warfare with neighboring West African states. This led Dahomey this led to Dahomey being one of the leading states in the slave trade, with the Oyo Empire, which is the empire of the Yoruba, which used slaves for commodity exchange in West Africa until the slave trade in the region ended. The lack of men likely led the king of Dahomey to recruit women into the army. It should be further noted that the formation of a female only army unit was a retaliation and maneuver around the forced tribute of male slaves to the Oyo Empire. So the Oyo Empire was dominating Dahomey at the time, and they had to pay tribute in slaves. You know, being a practitioner of West African spirituality, you know, we venerate Ogun and Shango. And, you know, Shango, we say, brought the thunder and lightning in battle. And that's why we venerate him as the Orisha or voodoo of thunder and lightning. But in order to bring thunder and lightning in battle, you have to be going to war with somebody. He was a conquering king. He was an Alafin, which is an emperor. So Shango took took his army into neighboring territories, and they defeated other armies and conquered them. And what do conquerors do? They inhabit areas and take slaves. That's what they were doing back then. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna stop this one. We're gonna go somewhere else with it. We're gonna go King Gizo real quick. Read up about King Gizo of Dahomey. It says, let
Go
me know
ahead.
when you can see.
Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. The traditions about the foundation of the military kingdom of Dahomey, the military kingdom of Dahomey. Yes, they were a military industrial complex over which King Gizo reigned from 1818 to 1858 are well known. Suffice it to say here that this warlike kingdom was founded in the first half of the 17th century, probably around 1620, by one Dagbari Jinu or Ginu, otherwise known as Dako, a fugitive prince from Alada who had been ousted from the throne of his father by his brother. I can't even pronounce his brother name. I won't do the brother a disservice by butchering it. Okay. Under the fourth monarch, Agaja Trudeau, the nascent king of Dahomey, reached the height of his power in the 18th century. The glorious reign of Agaja Trudeau, 1708 through 1740, saw the expansion of Dahomey in all directions, particularly to the south. An inland West African kingdom, Dahomey, like I'm sorry, I can't see, I ain't got my glasses. Like the 19th century's Egba state in southwest Nigeria, needed a direct route to the coast, partly in order to participate in the West African trade with European traders, and particularly to have a free access to gunpowder and arms for any state that wished to acquire and sustain its greatness. Hence, in the 1724, Agacha Trudeau attacked the latter and included it in, in his rapidly growing empire. 3 years later, Ouida was forced to become part of the kingdom of Dahomey. The basis of a future powerful state seems to have been laid by Agaja Trudeau when Tegbesu, who came to the throne in 1740, pushed the state's frontier still farther. The internment incursions of Oyo notwithstanding, but the territorial achievement of 18th century Dahomean kings did not make Dahomey a sovereign state. This was because the progress and expansion of the new, let me go down. I lost my spot. Expansion of the new state were distasteful to the more powerful imperial government of old Oyo, the Oyo Empire. That's Shango and Ogun and all of them. After many paralyzing military expeditions by Oyo, Dahomey had no alternatives to accept humiliating terms from the Yorubas of Oyo in southwest Nigeria. According to the 1748 treaty, Dahomey was obliged to pay to Oyo an annual tribute of 41 men and 41 virgins, 41 guns, 400 bags of cowries, and 400 corals. This meant that by this time, and in fact up till the deposition of Adandozan and the accession of Gizo in 1818, ultimately sovereignty in Dahomey remained with the Alafin of Oyo. So Dahomey paid tribute to the Oyo Empire. They were a slave nation to the Oyo Empire, and they gave slaves annually to the Oyo Empire. Not to mention all the slaves that the Oyo took on the slave raids when they would take conquer villages. They sold all those people. This is the way of the world at the time. Black people didn't look at each other like we were one people. We from different places and we're different nations. And it was nation versus nation, and the winner sold the people off. Let me stop here. We're gonna go somewhere else with it. Let's see. We're gonna go over to Ghana with the Ashantis real quick. We're just hitting different tribes. So we can show y'all,
Go ahead.
what the atmosphere was like at the time. This is from the encyclopedia right here. I know some people don't believe in the encyclopedia, and you know, I mean, knowledge is knowledge to me, man. Uh, the Ashanti Empire, West Africa state that occupied what is now southern Ghana in the 18th and 19th centuries, extended from the Kamo River in the west to the Togo Mountains in the east. The Ashanti Empire was active in the slave trade in the 18th century and unsuccessfully resisted British penetration in the 19th century. In their struggle against the suzerain state of what is that, Dikiniara, and lesser neighboring states, the Ashanti people made little headway until the accession, probably in the 1670s, of Osei Tutu. After a series of campaigns that crushed all opposition, he was installed as the Ashanti or king of the new Ashanti state, whose capital was named Kumasi. His authority was symbolized by the golden stool on which all subsequent kings were enthroned. From the beginning of the 18th century, the Ashanti supplied enslaved people to British and Dutch traders on the coast. In return, they received firearms. One second, let me scroll down. Firearms, with which to enforce their territorial expansion. After the death of Osei Tutu in either 1712 or 1717, a period of internal chaos and fractional strife was ended with the accession of Opoku Ware. He ruled from 1720 to 1750, under whom Ashanti reached its fullest extent in the interior of the country. So Opoku Ware expanded their kingdom farther than it's ever been expanded before. God bless that brother. Not because he's a slave trader, but this is never mind. I'm not gonna
No,
even go
no,
there.
go ahead. No, can go with your statement. No, no, no. Go full in. What do you mean? Go ahead.
No, no, no. It's just his last name is Ware. I'm related to some Wares, you know. So that's why I
Okay.
said that. One second. Okay, we're gonna talk about these Anglo and Ashanti wars. Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead.
The Anglo-Ashanti Wars were a series of 5 conflicts that took place between 1824 and 1900 between the Ashanti Empire in the Akan interior of the Gold Coast and the British Empire and its African allies. So the British had African allies. You know why the British had African allies? Because the Ashanti was enslaving Africans. So the British teamed up with the Africans that they were enslaving to try to get them to stop. The wars were mainly due to Ashanti attempts to maintain and enforce their imperial control over the coastal areas of present-day Ghana, where people such as the Fanti and the Ga had come under the protection of the British. Although the Ashanti emerged victorious in some of these conflicts, the British ultimately prevailed in the fourth and fifth conflicts, resulting in the complete annexation of the Ashanti Empire by 1900. The Ashanti won 3 out of the 5 battles, but the last 2 battles that counted, they lost. And that freed the Ga and the Fanti people from Ashanti slavery. But we don't want to talk about that. Now, I do understand that, I like to throw stones at the Europeans too, because, they brought slaves. They put slaves on boats that they built and brought them to another place and brought and put them under the harshest conditions known to man and brought them here to the Americas and misused and abused these folks. We do understand that. However, we can't forget that they were able to do that because they were bought, they were actually sold by other Africans. And we always want to get away from that. But this is the truth. This is history. We can't erase history. My mama family probably sold my daddy family into slavery, or vice versa. But when we got here, they married, or however they reproduced, and now I'm a culmination of all of these tribes. I'm mostly Yoruba, but I have all of these ethnicities running through my veins per my DNA. I come from a powerful people, a whole bunch of them, and I will never admit to this slave mentality that white people came over and just kidnapped black people out their beds at night and just took them up against their will to another land. It couldn't have happened like that. As you see, the British couldn't even defeat the Ashanti. They defeated them twice out of 3 times. Ashanti 3-2 against the British. Straight up. Let's go somewhere else with it. Hold on. We're gonna watch us a little video real quick, little clip, few seconds of a video. See where it take us to.
Here you go. Here you go.
You ready?
Now go ahead.
My journey is taking me towards the kingdom of Dahomey.
Blow it up
For
on
the
your screen.
Ashanti, Dahomey was notorious as a West African slaving kingdom.
Said Dahomey was notorious as a West African slaving kingdom. But you can't blame them. They was being enslaved too. Everybody was enslaving each other, as we've seen.
I'm heading south towards the border with Togo. I've got to cross Togo to get to Benin, and then head north to Abomey, the old capital of Dahomey. It's a day's drive, but it looks like it could take longer in this torrential rain.
Let's speed this
What's
brother up.
the closest service stations? How far from here?
Your residence?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
MA.
Okay, I know. Henry Loss.
Henri Louis.
Gonna speed it up a little bit more.
Seljani.
Thank you very much.
We're gonna go.
And then ship them to the New World.
We do not talk much about slave trade, slavery, because for most of Beninese people, 300 years back is a lot. Those who have been to school know about slave trade, know about what happened to their brothers sold to the New World. And a few months back, we had the bicentenary of the death of King Agonglo. And Agonglo was said to be one of the kings who tried to stop slave trade. But of course, he did not succeed.
But he must have known how bad it was.
Yes, he knew. They knew how bad it was. That was why they didn't trade their own people. They would trade people from the wars and battles they did all around the country.
Okay, so I hope y'all got that right there. Now, he said that one of the kings tried to stop the slave trade. I don't know how true that is because the British had to come in and form a blockade to get this nation right here to stop trading slaves. But then he came back and said, well, we didn't trade our own people. We traded other folks, the Yorubas. And the Yorubas traded them. See where I'm going with this thing? Everybody trading one another. It's like a world war going on in Africa. And everybody's trading the captives to the Europeans for money so they can go back to war.
Well, there's no attempt to explain away anything here. This recently restored artwork on the palace walls tells the whole story.
They about to show you the palace walls. This is an Abomey right here.
Kings of Dahomey carried a lot of war. There was almost every year a war. This image again shows you that we are dealing with Yoruba people because you can see the scars on their
As you see them, he talking about the Yoruba people. They got the Yoruba people etched on their temple. Let's see why the Yoruba people are on there. Let's see.
faces. And this gentleman has been beheaded again because, he lost.
But there's so many images on these panels
Yes.
of violence, of conquering.
Yes.
Was it a particularly violent kingdom?
Well, people say and pretend that it is a particularly violent kingdom, but I have not seen throughout history any conqueror not being violent. Have you ever come across someone who is conquering and is not violent?
No, generally people conquer by violence.
Okay, so that's this kingdom, they did of course cultivate the art of superiority, and each king had to train his son to be a warrior, to be someone who is greedy of power, of expanding all over.
So Kings are training their sons to be conquering kings. I know we like to believe that in Africa it was all roses and butterflies, and we didn't even eat meat. We just ate fruit from the trees. It was a garden of Eden, so to say, before the white folks came. But that's not true. We have our own histories, our own nations, our own empires. There was a lot of war going on to expand those empires. And if you understood the actual like African traditional religion, African people venerate their ancestors, and we tell stories about our ancestors. So you would know the conquering stories of your ancestors. There's no nation that is a conquering nation that did not participate in what goes along with conquering.
What's this low building over here?
This is the building King Lele erected in memory of his ancestors, both male and female.
In memory of his ancestors.
Yes. And you see, you have to bend down before entering this place because you have to show respect. Instead of kneeling, you have to bend down deeply. It's like a tomb, but nobody has been buried here. Those walls are made of mud, of course, some gold powder, rum, probably some palm oil, then some blood.
And blood.
What did he just say? They have constructed that temple with gold, rum, palm oil, and blood. Let's see where the blood came from.
Yes.
What, animal blood?
Well, there's certainly some animal blood, and probably it is said that there is some human blood into the walls.
Human blood?
Yes.
We got some human blood. So they use human blood as mortar. So they conquering and they sacrificing and trading slaves. This is a kingdom in West Africa by the name of Dahomey, which is present day Benin.
Were people sacrificed?
Yes, people were sacrificed, but it's not any slave who is sacrificed. A king from another place is always sacrificed. The head of the army is always sacrificed.
Rivals.
Rivals, yes. Mighty rivals are always sacrificed.
So we sacrifice the other kings and the other chieftains, and we sell his population into slavery. That's what was going on per Africans in Africa. And we got and what the brother said, I got the documents.
I'm honored to be granted another royal audience, this time with King Dejalanyi. These girls are the king's ceremonial bodyguard. They're the descendants of the terrifying female warriors of Dahomey. The Europeans called them Amazons, and they were famous for their ruthlessness. They kept the jawbones and skulls of their enemies as trophies. The king still wears the royal nose piece. It's meant to make him look like a leopard, but it's also a royal air filter. The king must breathe cleaner air than the rest of us. Do I bow? What do I do? I want to talk to him about the slave trade, but for some reason, I feel more awkward about it than I did in Ashanti. Tell him my great-great-great-grandmother came from the west coast of Africa.
He's very happy to see his friend, his son, who has gone to London or America to be today a very important personality. And he returned to home.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to speed this thing up a little bit.
Almost 20% All the slaves that came to the New World came from the Bight of Benin, from this very region.
You tie it all together. You just put it into somebody's house if you want to hurt him.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it
he will
destroys their
suffer.
nose.
Yeah, he will suffer.
What's that?
This is what we call coble.
Coble.
Yeah, this is a hole inside.
A senior member of the family. I asked him how he felt about Don Francisco. He loved African women.
Qu'il aimait la femme.
These are the descendants of Don Francisco. Don Francisco was a Portuguese slave trader who married African women and built a compound in Ouida. These are his children. They still live in the same compound that Don Francisco built, and his body is under the floorboard in one of the rooms.
Femme africaine.
La bonne preuve, il en a pris beaucoup.
He had a lot of wives, African wives. Combien? How many?
Je ne connais pas le nombre.
I don't know how many.
Je suis fier de ce qu'il a fait.
I am proud of what he did
Parce qu'il a sauvé la vie à des milliers de gens.
because he saved the life of
Suivant ma
many.
conception, à moi.
According to me, he saved the life of thousands of people. The king of Abome would have sacrificed all of them. So he has done a good thing by sending them away from the country.
Did y'all just hear that? He say Don Francisco did a good thing by sending folks on the Great Maafa, the transatlantic slave trade. He said if that wouldn't have happened, that the king at Abomey would have sacrificed them in that temple. You know that temple where they made with the blood from their enemies. That's where they would have sacrificed them at.
But the bad thing is that the slaves in the New World have a hole in their heart.
Mais ce qui est mauvais, c'est que tous ces descendants d'esclaves qui sont là-bas ont un grand vide, un grand trou dans leur cœur.
Oui, c'est qu'ils ont la nostalgie de leur ville, peut-être. Ils veulent revoir leur patrie d'antan.
They have a nostalgia of their country. They would like to come back and see their country as it was before.
Well, we're gonna leave it at that. I ain't gonna let y'all bore y'all with the rest of this. But I just wanted to touch on that the Africans part in the slave trade. It's not just some elitists. It was a grassroots effort, by African nations going to war with one another and taking their captives and selling them to the European slave traders so they can go to war with better weaponry and more money. And that's all I got to say, brother.
Whoa, let's give CBG a round of applause for a presentation. And his presentation, he got some good references in there, and he even showed us a video of kind of what's going on. So I guess the question that I have for you, and you may have for yourself, is do you agree with what CBG has showed us? And in essence, he was showing the part that black people or African people played in their own enslavement, in our own enslavement to a degree. And he was showing different reference points and different time frames. Now, if anyone out there disagrees with CBG, because let me put this in perspective, CBG, and you just correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, you put no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna take it there.
Take wherever you want to take it, brother.
Your perspective, and I think we talked about this the other day, and this is where I think this is where I think may be an issue here. But from your perspective, and 11 million is a modest number. 11 million is a modest number by some accounts, but we'll just go based off that number. It's a modest number. You're stating that all 11 million Africans that were caught up in the transatlantic slave trade, that were captured and brought to the Americas, to Jamaica, to Brazil, to Haiti, wherever they was going in that triangle slave trade, you're stating that all 11 million of them at or one time or another was captured by an African and brought to the slave port,
Yes.
controlled by the Europeans. All 11 million.
I'm saying the first step to becoming a slave back during that time was to be captured by an African an African unit of slave catchers to
Okay.
be brought to a European merchant and sold.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of get that point out. I just wanted to make sure that he expressed that fully. If folks disagree with what his premise just was, or what anything that he just stated in this on this live stream, then please let's have a conversation about it. I look forward to having a conversation about it. Feel free to comment your agreement, your disagreement, why you agree, why you disagree.
I got one more
We
thing. Let me play one more thing real
Go
quick.
ahead, go ahead. Oh,
Just to go with that. One
CBG
second.
got a cherry on. He gonna put a cherry on this.
1 second, right quick.
Go ahead, CBG. Okay, let me see. He done found something else. Let's see. You got it all day. There you go.
Out beyond that barrier, searching for those passports. We feel at home here because we're surrounded by black people. That's why we come. But the memory of slavery and of what our ancestors must have gone through is always lurking. Even a pretty little harbor town like Elmina is dominated by its slave castle. And for us, a slave castle is like Auschwitz.
Right in here. This very dungeon housed between 150 and 200 women for 3 good months. This is where they slept, yes, but the place was much overcrowded, so there wasn't enough space for one even to lie down. The result was an outbreak of malaria and yellow fever. So by the time the ships arrived, more than half were already dead. Well, this is the infamous room of no return. That is also the door of no return. When the slaves got here, they never knew where they were going. Neither did they know what was going to happen to them. All they knew was to get out of this room onto the boats. Some actually committed suicide because that was the only way they thought they could get their freedom. In fact, it was the Africans who did the raiding and selling of Africans to the Europeans. No European ever went into the hinterland to raid for slaves. It was the Africans who did it. And before the Europeans even landed here, slavery was already in the system. It was slaves that worked in the palaces for the kings.
Did y'all just hear that man right there? That's for the person in the back, for the people in the back. That African just told you that his ancestors raided and caught all the slaves. No European ever went into the hinterland. That's what he just said. So we got the answer right from the motherland. We didn't have to listen to nobody. We didn't have to go. We went to the motherland and got the answer. The question was, do I believe that all the slaves that were caught during the slave trade and transported to the Americas started off by being raided by Africans? The African told you yes, that's what they did. I didn't have to tell you that. Let's see what else you got to say. Well, I just guess they just gonna sit and think about that for a second. But yeah, I'll be through. I'm through right now.
Mm-mm-mm. So y'all heard it. CBG. He made a presentation and he made his argument. So we first of all, let me say, CBG, yet again, we appreciate you for coming on here to discuss yet again another controversial issue. For anyone that sees this, if you can like, share, subscribe, this is the kind of content that we gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about all of this type of stuff that folks can stomach, stuff that makes things people comfortable, and things that make people uncomfortable. That's what this platform is about. So we appreciate you, CBG, for taking your time out to put some, put your argument together, and and state your reasons why. And we appreciate you for doing that and getting some references for us, and not just speaking. Sometimes folks just when they state something, they just do a lot of speaking. So it's good to have references so folks can follow along, kind of put together, a thought process. So we appreciate you for that. Any closing thoughts?
I just want to go back to the original Guardian, n- the Guardian article where the Africans were apologizing and asking the kings to apologize in the slave trade. So they are admitting their fault and their role in there. However, just like any other people who don't want to admit the full extent, they saying they're resting it on the kings. My whole premise for this presentation is to show you that it was more than just the royalty. It was a grassroots effort. And I hope I did that.
All right. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Well, peace, power, and prosperity. Catch us back on the next one. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night or a good day, wherever it is you do, wherever it is you doing your thing. Have a good day.